ROCCAT are forced to sit on the red, although they picked red last time, so they're probably pretty happy with that. They take away the Orianna themselves, and a Xayah ban from Misfits. They look to be going for the same ban strategy as they had in Game 2.
Very much looks like it. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Kalista third ban, given that that is exactly what Misfits did in Game 2. You take Kianan off the champion that he is very comfortable on, and oh, look, Prophet, oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah, great.
Final ban. Ooh, interesting. They actually directed it towards Power of Evil. See, the thing is, like, he was good at Syndra, but I don't think, like, Syndra's the reason why they won that game, right? Like, the Syndra got a bunch of kills.
Cassio did,
and
yeah.
My word. Yeah,
That's
you're
right.
You're exactly right. Like, yeah, Cassio, exactly. But because the Cassio's been banned away, it's left another champion open.
Zac open. ROCCAT will have known that. They go for the Galio and Thresh in response. Take that way away from Ignar. You said they needed to do that. But the Zac we have seen be incredibly impactful. Xerxes played it last week, and apart from that, we have seen almost 100% pick ban on this Zac throughout the European LCS.
But it was Misfits that played Zac into NIP just the other day. So we know that they can play it. That was a stomp in favor of Misfits. Maxwell seemed extremely comfortable on it. What ROCCAT decided was that they would trade 2 power picks in exchange, get themselves a Galio and a Thresh. And the thing about Thresh is he is actually pretty good at interrupting a lot of the engages, but Misfits immediately respond with a powerful bottom lane of their own.
Yeah, getting the Varus once again for Hans Summer, and a Tarm Kench for Ignar. Very good at keeping you safe from that Thresh, from the hooks, from the Pride Stalker on the Kha'Zix, which he locks in for himself once again. Now we're getting down to mid laners and AD carries for ROCCAT. And top laners probably for Misfits.
I wonder if Misfits even invest bans into AD carries, or rather they just try and take Betsy off of some of his more comfortable picks. Before, Misfits chose to ban away both the LeBlanc and Lulu. They don't need to ban away the Lulu this time around, so if they wanted to, they could ban away...
It's Vlad?
They could, yeah, exactly. The Vladimir, the Swain, just make sure that Betsy isn't on something that he has a big impact on, because his Talia, not that impressive. Doesn't help when you do go up against 3-0 Cassio, but still, we didn't see much like roaming around the map from him.
They do have to respect the fact this Galio can flex into the mid lane. They go for the Gnar ban against Foxy. Fiora and Kled banned out by ROCCAT, which implies that Galio is going to go towards the top.
Exactly, I completely agree with you. But also, I feel like those are perfect champions for Alfaro. We saw what he did on a Jarvan when he's given a champion that's a little bit more in terms of carry, or more of a carry than, say, Jarvan. I think it definitely suits him. This would be fun, risky, very risky.
But they played Cosmore last game. I don't think
and they died. They lost, right? Like, there's an element of risk to it. So, oh, they're doing it.
I think it's the trust as well that they have in Madrid, because you've always got the Dark Passage to get him away. You've got the Galio there as well to jump on top of that Jinx to try and protect. However, as you say, a very risky pick.
The thing is, I love Jinx. I think she's a super fun AD carry. Her team fighting power is phenomenal. But there is a reason why she is not super meta right now, and that is because her laning phase is kind of weak. She has pretty long cooldowns, and she is pretty low in terms of mobility if she's not getting the resets on her passive. And especially when you're going up against a Zac, and now a LeBlanc, like, it is going to be difficult to stay alive in that kind of a setup.
I'm always really interested by AD carries in Europe as well, because we don't see that much Ashe. Lucian's still on the cards here as well. There's these picks that we see very much in other regions just don't seem to have reached over to the marksman we have over here. It's the Shen being picked up finally from Misfits alongside that LeBlanc, and looks like Betsy will go over to his Vlad once again.
So a very conventional composition for ROCCAT. I think that as a comp, standalone, it's fine, right? Like, they have good scaling, they are much more headed towards like the mid and late game. They have a good 1-3-1 with both the Vladimir, and they can send Galio off onto a side lane while you primarily have the wave clear Jinx. But fundamentally, this is a team fighting team, right? Galio, Vladimir, Jinx, like really good at being able to set up for team fights, especially when you have a Thresh acting as a front line alongside the Galio. Whereas for Misfits, they're way more focused towards the 1v1. You send a LeBlanc off to a side lane, she can very easily kill her opponents, and Shen is always going to hold his own up against the Galio later on, especially going for an early Tiamat for that wave clear. So I'm excited to see what they can do with it, because Misfits, they're going to be looking for a lot more picks. The vision control is going to be extremely important for them, and I think it's super important that Misfits get an early lead, because you cannot afford to go super late game because LeBlanc is really going to struggle to have an impact the longer this game progresses.
Well, make sure you get involved in the conversation over on Twitter at LOL Esports with your thoughts about the victor of the next match and of the series. Hashtag MSF win if you think Misfits are going to take it, and hashtag ROC win if you think ROCCAT are going to be able to pick up their first series of the European Summer LCS. Now ROCCAT looking down the barrel of a gun. History may repeat itself. They were reverse swept last week. Will it happen again? Misfits versus ROCCAT on to the Summoner's Rift.
Now, the last time I remember seeing a Jinx was from Deft, when he played for KT during the spring LCK playoffs.
That's a long time ago.
No, because it was last spring.
Oh, okay.
Spring 2017. I definitely know that they did win. It was in their final game. They ended up going 3-0 in that series. But Def demonstrated that you can have a lot of success with it. But he had a composition that was built around making it succeed, and the situation that it was picked in also made a lot more sense. The problem here is, we've talked a lot about it during Champion Select, like there's a lot of stuff that can kill you. LeBlanc can come in from a flank. You also have the Tahm Kench that can literally bring a Shen behind you to just get that taunt down. You also have Maxlord diving onto your face, and a lot of pressure is going to be on Wadid to provide effective peel in order to keep that Jinx alive.
Over a year ago was the last time it was played in the European LCS.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly long time ago. I know it's played in CB LOL as well. I think BRTT plays it for the Red Canids. Played it once in the MSI play-ins as well, but very much a unique pick, an eclectic pick, something we don't see that commonly, especially with so many other AD carries high in priority. ROCCAT will be trying to break out something from their chest of secrets to defeat Misfits here today.
So we will certainly be watching this bottom lane. Remember, one of the things that we wanted to see was that ROCCAT had a winning bottom lane. And the issue that you have with Jinx is her laning power is not actually that strong. She has a pretty short range. She doesn't have abilities that trade effectively because her traps are really easy to dodge, and you can just sit behind the minions to dodge out from her W, which means that every time you want to trade, you have to use your basic attacks. And against Varus, you can imagine that you're always going to lose, because, oh sure, you both trade basic attacks, and then Hansama hits you with an E, automatically you lose that trade, and as we're seeing right now, you end up getting forced back.
How much does Doran's shield help her then? Because we've seen 4 of them picked up in this game.
You're right, it does really help a lot. It gives you a lot of sustain. It means that every time that the Varus does hit you in the face, you at least get a little bit more sustain. And as long as Wadid keeps helping you wave clear, you should be fine. The power of this duo in particular, though, is every time a hook lands, you're guaranteed the chompers to land as well. But that results in you having to land the hook. So.
And coming back to something we've talked about a lot throughout the series is jungler pressure. Pridestalker, the 3rd time we've seen him on this Kha'Zix, he doesn't tend to gank early, likes to just farm himself up. Maxlord has the Zac. This is a pick we have seen so high in ban priority from the red side. Basically every first ban is a Zac on that red side. Now Maxlord has his hands on it. Can he be the impactful jungler that Misfits were looking for when they subbed out Cacao over the spring break?
Well, we have seen him demonstrate a good performance on Zac prior. We talked about how he did well into NIP with it, and so far mechanically, sure, he hasn't demonstrated that he was levels above Cacao. It's understandable, right? That guy was a bit of a legend over in LCK. But we're still starting to understand what terms of value he can bring when it comes to communication, and their ability to set up around these objectives does seem promising. Like, there were a lot of question marks, like, why is he sitting bot jungle level 4 as the Lee Sin for so long? But it was all within the investment of being able to dive to the bottom tower. So you can see that there's definitely a brain on his shoulders. He definitely has an understanding of what he wants to try and do. Just sometimes the execution can falter for this.
But that's about building synergy across a few weeks, across a split indeed. You know, they've only been together as an organization for about a month in this form with Maxlord there, so they will take a bit of time to start stepping up to the plate. You need to give them a little bit of leeway. The same with ROCCAT, with Pridestalker coming in. It might look like only a small change, but we've seen small changes make a very big difference. across the course of a split. Pridestalker going a little bit aggressive here. Maxwell's off towards the top side. Betsy actually looking to go in as Pridestalker's nearby. Maxwell jumps forward. There's the stretching strike, pulling back. Betsy pulled a long way back. He's going to be the first blood. PoE flashes away. Pridestalker looking for his prey. Will get the kill. 1-for-1 trade in the mid lane.
So, junglers having an impact down in the middle lane. We will have a very quick pause. I don't we know why. We will be able to update you. But going back to that, Zach is annoying. Like, that is so frustrating to play against, man. Like, you get hit by the Q, you flash out, his Q is still attached, and then he's just like, yeah, no, I'm gonna drag you all the way back in, and he hit him with a cannon creep. Like, it's so annoying. It's part of the reason as to why Zach is so powerful. His Q in his kit, like, it's fun, sure, it's great to watch, but it's so obnoxious.
I think as well it's something that's undervalued in his kit because everyone looked at his ultimate and was like, okay guys, let's bounce. Huge, massive, game-changing ultimate. And they don't realize how much that little bit of extra CC that Zach has now in his kit can impact things. Betsy is just the person who's paused. We're going to have a quick look at that first blood replay video so you can walk us through it and tell us exactly what's going on.
So, when you're on a Zach, once you hit level 4, you're actually in a pretty good position to set up for a gank when you have a LeBlanc in your lane too. Now, Betsy, he dodges out of the way of the chains, which is a big part of why he's able to flash away, but look at the range on that. The thing is, the animation started when he flashed, which is why he got dragged back by such a large distance. The problem is, for Power of Evil, was that he'd used all of his escapes in order to get the kill down onto Betsy, so Pridestalker could just leap in and just sink his little daggery things into him. So,
how much does this affect that mid lane as well? Because LeBlanc's so strong when she gets ahead early on. She was the one who got first blood, has burnt both her summoners. Betsy's burnt both of his as well. How much can Power of Evil do with this advantage? Do we expect to see a different gameplay enacted by Misfits because the LeBlanc has first blood?
The big thing that I see it resulting in is the Vladimir now has no flash. So he has to be super mindful of how he uses the pool, because if he ever uses it to try and trade with his opponent or to try and dodge a skill, Maxlaw's just going to leap on his face and just set up for another kill for LeBlanc.
We are sorry for the pause. League officials are investigating a visual bug that Betsy reported, and as soon as we have an update, we'll make sure to get back to you with it. Talk to me a little bit more about the compositions and the rest of the map. We said 1-3-1 possibly for Misfits here. How do ROCCAT then counteract that? How can they play around the fact that Misfits have such a powerful split composition?
Well, it's really important that you have, at the very least, an even laning phase, because a 1-3-1 composition can only really succeed when your split pushes are ahead. So the thing about Shen is he's okay. Like, he's never going to look to try and kill his opponent, but LeBlanc is. So getting a couple of early kills, getting a couple of extra levels, especially on a counterpart, is extremely valuable because it very nicely sets her up to move off into a side lane and basically pressure out anyone in the 1v1. Whereas ROCCAT, as we talked about, sure, they can match that 1-3-1. It's fine, especially given the fact that Power of Evil doesn't have a teleport. You can just send the Vladimir off to deal with him, and you just send the Galio off to deal with the Shen. Like, his wave kill will be fine for holding that. But their true power comes from actual team fighting, because you have Jinx, who has the AoE rockets. If her build path is still the same as it was in the past, you have Infinity Edge and what will likely be a Runan's Hurricane 2, which means that your overall DPS onto multiple targets will be massive, and then you pad that up with a Vladimir, like, you're just waiting for big teamfight damage. So I think that they want to try and force Misfits to group up, and it's very similar to what we saw in Game 1, except reversed, where they're going to be looking to play a lot more around Baron and Dragon and draw Misfits into those kind of fights.
So I want to pose a hypothetical to you here, Vedius.
Hit me.
Betsy's pool is quite unique in the way that it's set up. You know, we see the Swain, we see the Vlad. He's got picks that people don't usually have. Could he have played the Galio mid here into the Blanc and given a split pusher up towards Faxi in that top lane?
He definitely could have. That would have been an adequate response. The only issue is LeBlanc, very early on, often builds a Gunblade, right? So sure, a lot of her burst you'll mitigate, but in terms of her laning power, LeBlanc will still be pretty strong because she will build a fair amount of AD early on and she'll be able to pressure out the Galio. But once you get a couple of levels, once you build a bit of resistance, the Galio should be absolutely fine in that matchup. And I agree with you, you then could have sent someone off to the top side.
Well, we are still in this pause, so we're going to toss it over to the analyst desk. Shocks and the lads, take it away.
Thank you very much, Medic. And I know you guys don't want to see us right now. You want to see the game, but there has been a visual bug reported by Betsy to League officials, so we're investigating that, or they are investigating that rather right now, which gives us a little chance to catch up on what we wanted to see from Game 3 and what we ended up seeing. So let's take a look at the picks and bans and see kind of the plans that each team decided to go for from your guys' perspective. How much of what you wanted to see did you see come out from maybe ROCCAT first, Henning?
Yeah, this is interesting because the key to game number 1 was the bottom lane from ROCCAT unlocking Wadid, and then once they got the snowball rolling, he had so good playmaking potential. Now he also has this playmaking potential. He's playing Thresh with a Galio on his team, but he's with the Jinx in the bottom lane, so he won't be able to snowball early, which I could think it could become a problem.
It could become a problem. When we look at the ban phase for ROCCAT, I kind of echo what Vedius was talking about. I don't know how really important 3 mid lane bans this early on in the draft is, because it gives away the Zac is, I think, the highest priority pick there. You look at it. At that point, the Thresh, the Galio are nice pickups for ROCCAT, but unless they can combo that together very well like they did in Game 1, I'm a little hesitant to say that it's worthwhile for ROCCAT. Like, for a top-tier team, I would say giving them Galio Thresh is probably like a death sentence, if you'll excuse the pun, but I think ROCCAT have shown that with such a fragile AD carry, it's not just about getting the fight started.
Well, I guess you also just see that they kind of target what has killed them in previous games, right? Cassio and absolutely off Power of Evil had the total upper hand in that game, so ROCCAT decides to ban out all the mid laners. On the side of Misfits, well, all the AD carries are going because that's clearly what they identify as the main threat. So I think the Jinx pickup was maybe just, well, being pushed to the edge. Xayah banned, Kalista banned, Caitlyn banned out as well.
What it can do, though, as we've always seen with Jinx, is push towers very effectively, very well. As long as you survive the laning phase, which theoretically, we've talked the Doran shield changes, should get her through the laning phase, you can push towers incredibly quickly. Now, combo this with a Rift Herald that can maybe move through mid lane or a side lane, get 2 towers very quickly. And that's the kind of thing that if ROCCAT can orchestrate, would work well for them.
Yeah, and opening up the map early with a potential Jinx tower take is so important when you've got the likes of a Thresh Galio. You don't want towers on the map, you want space to be able to make the plays. Also, something I gotta mention about Jinx is that there's some cute interactions with her and the new items with the Runan's Hurricane. With a minigun attack, you will actually get 3 stacks of their attack speed, so get the full attack speed stacks immediately. So I'm expecting to see a Hurricane from Yarnan and then stack that up quickly.
All right, is this a Swedish thing where you call interactions cute?
Why would
I've noticed it a couple of times. Made it like it's a...
I think it's a good word to describe something that's not actually huge, but it's just a little small fun fact. Like it's a
fun
cute
fact.
interaction.
Well, if it can kill someone, I wouldn't say it's such a cute fact, but yeah, okay, nice.
I think the cute one is that when you're in rocket form with Hurricane, you get those little extra rockets. That's the analysis I've got on Jinx.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Quality
the other things we can look at here is a mid lane matchup, which was so influential in the last game, even though we didn't really see how Power of Evil or Betsy did like specifically in lane and now playing each other because Cassio got all those kills. But we do feel like Betsy generally going towards something like a Vladimir, something that's controlling and something that he has gone to in the past is a better option for ROCCAT.
Yeah, it's what he's feeling confident on, and I think that's a good choice up against the LeBlanc. There are always these counter picks like a Kassadin, like a Lissandra that can work well into LeBlanc specifically, but in this situation, I'd prefer him going for something that he feels confident with.
One thing it will do as we get later on into the game is create distractions to buy time for Hyun, and that's, again, in the spring, what we saw working very well for ROCCAT, whether it was a Swain, whether it was a Vlad, somebody that just soaks up 3-4 people in a team fight, and suddenly Hyun gets like a 10-20 seconds of time in a team fight to himself without anybody going for him. Yeah,
with the Galio as well, I like the interaction with the Vladimir. You want to just flash in with the E ready, and then you will be so hard to kill with all the heals you're coming in, together with the damage reduction from my potential Galio ultimate. So Galio working together will pretty much everyone but Jinx on ROCCAT's team.
Yeah, we haven't really seen a lot in the game specifically. We did see the first kill, I believe, going over only 2 Misfits. Have we seen a lot in terms of Pride Stalker versus Maxlore in this one? Is there one or the other vulnerable, or have we seen Pride Stalker actually doing a lot more until now?
I think this is another game, unfortunately, for Pride Stalker where it's going to be farming up for a while. We saw, obviously, a counter gank attempt in mid lane, but you're against the Zac. You're not going to push him heavily enough behind in the early game because Zach now has this great clear that he didn't used to have. So I think for Pridestalker, there's not too much he can do on an individual level against Maxlaw early on. But as the game goes further, that's where I want to see Pridestalker maybe go towards this Jinx, this Thresh lane, and try and actually get them ahead, try and get that working, because I don't think it's going to happen with the Vlad or the Galio particularly easily.
Yeah, getting the skirmishes early will be important for Pridestalker, or in like the mid game, because later on, sure, you're against an immobile Varus, but he has a Tom Ken, she has a Shen to protect him, so it's going to be very hard for Pridestalker to go for those assassination attempts. So it's more going to be the cleanup.
Yeah, he got the return kill, absolutely, but then you look at how easily it should be for Maxlaw to have impact. Elastic Slingshot in, you find the Jinx, the Zac ult drags the Jinx out of the safety into the rest of Misfits, and that theoretically is a one-team fight.
All right, well, of course, we want to see the game, and I do have an update for you guys. League officials have determined that the visual bug Betsy experienced did not significantly affect the game, and as a result, the teams will be playing through. As they settle back in, let's kick it to the casters and get back into that game.
Thank you very much, guys, on the analyst desk. We are going to get straight back on into the action. ROCCAT and Mysterious Monkeys, that's an entirely different team. It's so much of a zoo that sometimes I see the wrong animals in different places. It's ROCCAT up against Misfits Gaming. Of course, we have seen that LeBlanc just pick up a kill in the mid lane. Let's get back onto the Summoner's Rift and let's continue playing this action. Woo! Magic
That's
Summoner's
awkward when
Rift.
it doesn't fade.
There we are. We got the fade eventually. We're going to get onto the Summoner's Rift, guys. Thank goodness.
So let us return to the action. As a recap, LeBlanc got a kill, and
Pridestalker got one too.
Pridestalker got one too. So, what can Pridestalker do? Because this guy does not gank a lot. We've seen it time and time again. He was ranked 9th for jungle proximity along his laners. And jungle proximity, for those that might not know rather, is the amount of time that you spend with your laners. If it's low, it means you're not doing a lot along with your laners. Sure, you might be spending a lot of time warding or just farming, which can be fine, but when you're Kha'Zix and you have a kill, you need to be more active.
And this series has actually got worse than before. It was 33.1%, it's now 33.9%. It's now 33.1%, 10th in the league for the amount of time he spends with his team early on. That means he's not going with a support to ward deep into the enemy jungle. That means he's not ganking lanes. It means they're not grouping up around objectives before that 15-minute mark. Now, let's have a look, have a quick consolidation of what's going on. Faxi's got triple Dormans in the top lane. There's a slight gold lead for the Misfits. Across the board, it's pretty even, but the mid lane is the place to watch for Power of Evil. He's been a carry for Misfits throughout this split, and he's already got one kill and a Hextech Revolver on that LeBlanc.
And just keep an eye on the amount of vision being invested from both Ignar and Maxlaw into the bottom half of ROCCAT's jungle. So not only allow Power of Evil to push up and start trading very regularly with Betsy, but also to give Hansama and Ignar the freedom to continue pushing onto that tower. We talked very early on about how Jinx not really considered a powerful laner. Now that she has herself the Vampiric Scepter, it's going to help a lot in terms of sustain and her ability to trade back with her opponent.
Top lane is going to be a bit of a slugfest for the time being. Not really expecting anyone to win out that lane too handily. It's what we call handbags in the UK, because it means that people tend to just, it's like old women just hitting each other with their handbags. Doesn't really do too much damage. Faxi was looking down towards the mid lane, maybe seeing if he could set something up with Betsy, but nothing comes of it.
Yeah, I mean, your handbag is nice and all, but I would appreciate it if you could stop hitting me with it.
Sorry, man.
It's all right. I'll forgive you. I can understand that those moments happen from time to time. Just gotta let it out. And right now, ROCCAT, what we want to see them let out is the animal inside. They are that panther. They are lying in wait. Pridestalker, he's level 6. Bottom lane, they have the hook. Let's see if we see a Lance play. Oh, he's immediately pinked out. Misfits, no. That panther has been spotted.
But that's good for Misfits. It shows that they understand Pridestalker is someone they really need to pay attention to early on. Maxlaw is looking for ganks of his own. There's no river ward for ROCCAT, and he can actually get all the way down to this bot lane river bush if he wants. It looks like that's what he's going to do. Wadid and Hyanan are a bit overextended. They get the push back onto Hansama. Wadid's jumped on Maxlaw. There, he's going to pull Wadid back. Doesn't even need to use the Let's Bounce, but he might do it for Hyanan. No, Baxi's TP'd in. Pridestalker comes in from the side. There's the taunt. Hyanan's starting to pound down with the rockets, but cannot get enough damage off, and Misfits will back away with a kill to their name.
Bit of a party down in the bottom lane. The Shen does get there faster thanks to his ultimate, and it will result in the death of Wadid. And again, you're seeing the obnoxious playstyle of Zac, where you try to flash away, you get dragged back into the lane, and it is so difficult to escape. So just keep an eye on this, like no vision control for ROCCAT at all in the laning phase. They cannot deal with Maxwell diving onto your face. You can just see that it is so difficult for Wadid to get away. He does keep his AD carry alive, and with Faxley coming along, Misfits can't afford to go for any kind of diving shenanigans, but Misfits still get themselves a kill. And remember what we said, for ROCCAT to succeed, it seems to be a trend where the bottom lane also has to succeed.
Hyanan is succeeding a little bit at the moment, has a CS advantage over Hans Summer. We saw how much damage those rockets can do in that last fight, was shredding through the Misfits front line. Now they're going to switch up towards the top lane as well, looking to see if they can force down this top tower.
So this is a common thing that you do when you know you're not going to be able to win that 2 versus 2, because a change was made a while back where the top tower has a lot of added resistances before 5 minutes, but past that, it's exactly the same as it is down the bottom lane, so you can look to just very quickly siege onto it. As Maxwell, he is now hanging around the top side. If Misfits can keep this alive for long enough, then the bottom lane of Misfits should be able to get themselves that first blood tower instead.
The thing is here, the ROCCAT are playing to the global. Alfari is the one with Stand United, is on a cooldown at the moment, but they're bringing all 5 members up towards the top side. Hans Summer looking for the tower in the bot. ROCCAT will look for the tower in the top. It's a speed race. Which AD carry can be quicker? Looks like it's going to be Hans Summer at the moment because our observers have not switched across, which always indicates to you that this is where the action is. Hans Summer will get the first tower of the game for the Misfits in the bot lane. That was close.
That was close. Oh.
I was a lot more calm about that than I thought I should be. But
Observers baiting you a little bit. But it was a good response from Misfits because they really should have lost that first tower. Instead, now look, double root.
Hemoplay comes down. Ignar looking to get that tongue lash off. Can't quite connect. And Betsy will be alive for the time being. Ignite was used by PoE there. Betsy still has all his summoners and a Thresh waiting just around the corner to help him out if needs be.
Power of Evil achieves what he wanted, which is pressure. Betsy's pretty low health, sure he'll be able to sustain it back, but as he tries to do that, he's going to take more and more chip damage from Power of Evil, and this is what he needs to keep doing, is on the LeBlanc. This is a champion that he had a lot of success with back in spring, and the reason for that was because he often moved with Cacao to these side lanes to get himself more kills. And right now, we're not seeing very much movement with Maxor, but we are seeing a huge investment in deep vision. Look at all the wards as Misfits look for a collapse onto Pridestalker.
Pridestalker needs to be careful. They spot him in. There's the chains. PoE is going to jump in. Double distort. Let's bounce back. Pridestalker's dead. No escape for him for the time being. Betsy actually going to try and trade onto PoE here. The Abyssal Voyage coming in from Ignar will distract and dissuade Betsy from going any further.
And now with Pridestalker dead, Misfits have a 4-man unit that they could use to push onto the mid. Instead, their focus is on the Dragon. A really impressive pick coming out from Misfits. This is thanks to all the good vision that they had set up prior. And we were praising them so much for this deep vision investment as they're now looking for the bottom lane of ROCCAT.
Max Law's gonna slingshot in. Great play back. Hyanan running away. There's a TP in as Wadid tries to pull himself to safety, but he cannot get away. Hans Summer with another kill.
Wadid once again giving his life for his AD carry. Hyanan always being forced to burn everything to get away from the Zac, from the Shen. This dive composition that Misfits have is making life so difficult for the bottom lane of ROCCAT. And it's good to see that Misfits, they do understand ROCCAT's strongest point as they just continue to invest resources into trying to shut them down.
And this is what we wanted to see from Misfits as well. There was always a risk that they wouldn't be able to get these early leads. We saw it in game 1 when they fell behind, they weren't able to come back. Here, they had a 1-for-1 trade in the mid, but they're the team on the front foot. They're the team getting the deep vision. They're the team playing these strategic plays, which is what Maxler was brought in to help them do in the first place.
Coordination seems to be a big strength for Misfits right now.
It does help they have Zac.
Does indeed help.
However, an S-tier champion on a player that only plays it to a B-tier level is only a B-tier champion, Vedius.
Nope, still an S-tier champion. Nope, definitely still S-tier.
I was hoping for my face, you know, black and white face with the quote underneath.
Still S-tier.
H2K having a great split this split. ROCCAT are looking down towards the bottom lane, though. They will go for that tower. Hans Summer and Ignar up towards the top side, forcing Faxi back. Stalker's on his way down bot, but it's just going to be tower for tower again. Actually, Stand United used on Ignite here, and Baxi has the taunt. This is very aggressive from the Misfits. Alfari will taunt onto Baxi. He's not going to be able to get away, but they take a long time to get the kill onto the Galio. And meanwhile, there's a rocket coming all the way up from bot. Is that going to connect? It will hit nothing. What a bad shot from Hyana. Can't hit someone from the opposite side of the map. Come on, man.
I thought that that was going to be a horrible dive for Misfits, but instead it ends up working out beautifully thanks to the way in which they executed it. When we get a replay, we can break down exactly what Ignite was doing and how he was able to tank up so much of the tower to allow Misfits to not only get themselves the kill, what should very well be that tower up in the top lane as well, as Betsy continues to take her ass.
Betsy's just really struggling into PoE. The Ignite comes down. He's dead, as you say. Pricestalker's going to jump in, though. Power of Evil gets swiped away. Pricestalker gets his second kill. Maxlord gets the Rift Herald, though, did that all by himself. And 6 kills to 2 in favor of the Misfits now. They have a 2,000 gold lead.
Seems to be a running theme where Power of Evil dying to Pridestalker, cleaning up after the mistakes of Betsy. Is Maxwell going to look for an engage?
Gun has the lantern. Maxwell just wants to engage onto the minions. It's always important to farm, Vedius. Got to get that gold in your pocket somehow. Let's have another look at this fight in mid.
So, yeah, we're actually getting a replay of the 1v1 kill. Unfortunately, not much to break down. The reality is Betsy should have pulled sooner. He did not really dodge any of the damage. He just pulled an Ignite, which you can't pull.
Yeah,
so
can't stop the tick.
Really big misplay from Betsy is the reality.
And it's interesting as well because the Vladimir is something we really only see from Betsy. So you think he'd have the workings of these matchups down pretty well. Maybe the Sanguine Pool was only just coming off cooldown. I didn't see perhaps if he'd used it a little bit before, but definitely should have been using it a bit more preemptively. Now, actually after this, I've got a great point, but Betsy is going to get caught out once again. Uses the pool early on. The chains, one will connect, and Sama there as well with his second chain, and 2 chains is enough for the Misfits. Woodid cannot land the hook. Back to my point though, Executioner's calling on Power of Evil. Why not just build Morello Nomicon? I do not.
It's expensive, and you need the immediate Grievous wounds now. And you can see how valuable it is, because when he was backed against the wall, he didn't have the health regen to keep him alive, and the rest of Misfits came for the follow-up to get themselves the kill, along with another tower. So again, Misfits playing around Power of Evil. He gets that early kill. They continue to utilize the pressure that he has to enable them to extend their control. And this is very standard Misfits. I just feel like ROCCAT, they're pinching themselves extremely hard because of what it seems to be Hyunan's limited champion pool on 80 carries. Ashe was open. Like, that is a very strong 80 carry that is considered arguably S tier over in the LCK. And I understand in Europe it's not a big pick, but it would have been a much better option than going for Jinx, who just conceded the laning phase, especially like leaving open. There's that like many question marks surrounding ROCCAT's draft have led up to this point, and it just makes me wonder, because I feel like it is so plain as day that when the bottom lane of ROCCAT succeed, that is when we see the best form of ROCCAT.
Execution is calling as well on Hans Summer here, so they're just trying to get as many Grievous wounds as possible. Of course, Morello Nomicon means that you have to have the enemy below 40% health.
True.
Execution is calling doesn't need that. You just have to do some physical damage, and an auto attack is enough physical damage to get that proc. 7 kills to 2 in favor of Misfits. A 3,000 gold lead, only 16 minutes in. They are still sitting on that Rift Herald that Maxlor has in his back pocket. They've already got the first tier of towers down almost completely. Top lane just sitting on a couple of auto attacks worth of health.
So now what Misfits should start doing is they have Alfari down the bottom lane. They have push in mid. So what you do is you clear out mid wave, you push out top, or maybe just try and force a fight.
All right, doing. There's the chains once again onto Betsy. Has the flash if he wanted to use it. He's gonna Sanguine Pool first, then flashes away. Pricetal goes up towards the side. Here comes the heroic entrance. Jumps down, double stun. Maxwell there as well, but here comes Power of Evil. Already Betsy's fallen. PoE fighting up towards the bottom side. Will be able to get the kill onto Pricetalker. Just needs a little bit more damage. Pricetalker cannot turn it around, and PoE with his 4th kill of the game.
Misfits find a successful engage once more. Betsy overextends and makes it extremely easy for Misfits to punish him as they look to take down a tier 2 turret in the mid.
And they're doing it with the cannon minion, Vedius. I know you'll be happy as an analyst to see that. They could perhaps have pushed for a little bit more if they really wanted to,
Don't
but
gamble.
it may have been greedy.
No need to gamble. You're guaranteed a tier 1 in the top lane as well. ROCCAT have to answer the Rift Herald. Just use it as a means to go back to base. You can now spend the gold that you just acquired and put yourself in a much more favorable position. Very clean play overall from Misfits. Is just like, again, not able to use the Sanguine Pull during the root. Makes it very difficult for him as he just gets nuked down. Even with the damage reduction, he can't even take the Lantern. Misfits very cleanly executing that fight. Very good target selection.
And the early executioners calling on Hans Salmon means that they can take those fights when PoE isn't there as well. They don't need the LeBlanc to be able to kill the Vladimir, whereas usually with so much sustain coming out from that Vladimir, just naturally being a blood mage and all, he is able just to fight up against AD carries in most situations. Even Varus, actually, Hail of Arrows has Grievous Wounds on it as well. So there's 3 different sources alongside an Ignite on Power of Evil to try and stop Betsy in his tracks.
They're basically saying, look, Betsy, we need to have a chat. You get a lot of lifesteal, and we like our lives in our own bodies.
Yeah.
So no longer will you steal as much from us, thanks to the Executioner's Call.
But he does actually still do the same amount of damage.
Damage is still the same. He still hits like a truck, but you get to keep more of your soul. And I think spiritually, that's a healthier way to
Especially
live.
since there's a Thresh there, and he's already stealing your
Right?
souls as well.
Exactly.
Could only lose so many souls, Vedius.
Exactly that. Now Maxwell, he wants to try and contest this red.
He's going to jump towards Prize Stalker. Prize Stalker still harassing down. PoE jumps in with the Hexa Gunblade, getting the chains off as well. Buchanan alive on the back line. Teleport comes in from Alfari, joins the fight. Doesn't actually decide to finish the channel.
Jebaited.
Jebaited,
As he
indeed.
decides not to join the fray. Disengage as the red buff goes in favor of Pride Stalker. But again, vision is the big thing for Misfits because Baron is going to be spawning soon. And that will be a big objective that Misfits have recently been playing better around aside from their Game 2 versus NIP, which for now we can forget about. But for the most part, Misfits, they have good vision control, they have a great pick composition, they were able to get an early lead, which right now they're effectively snowballing. And it feels to me like they have understood their comp and they have been able to effectively utilize it.
And we had big questions coming into this series about 2 players on the Misfits lineup. Maxlor and Alfari. How well would they be able to work together? Could they get Alfari out of this poor streak he's been in? Could Maxlor make the strategic plays he needed to? And thus far this series, in the second 2 games, Maxlor's definitely stepped up. Misfits macro has looked a lot stronger. And Alfari, once again, is unkilled on this Shen, doing a great job split pushing into Faxi.
Yeah, the duo has been doing extremely well. There's another engage.
Voyage comes in, they bring Maxlor forward with Did. Gonna get the hero's entrance on him. He hooks back the Tarmkench, still has the thick skin. Look at the taunt onto Hjarnan. It was all a bait, mate, and they get the kill. Knock back Faxi as well. He's gonna ball. 2 kills to Misfits. Maxlor looking for more. Let's bounce back. Doesn't bring any friends. They all didn't want to join his party, but Misfits are gonna have a party of their own at the Baron Pit.
And you can see once again how easy it is to kill this Jinx. But Misfits, I don't think they're done just yet.
I think
They are done. They are
I think
done.
they are. But yeah, they can just do the Baron off towards the side by themselves. PoE jumps onto Betsy once again. Prize Stalker is here. He will look for the steal. Hansam and Maxlor Alfari still in the pit. They're going to get the pull back onto Ignar. The play used. Betsy jumps onto PoE. Here's Alfari. Here's the rest of Misfits. They all jump in onto Betsy. That's a dead Vladimir and a dead Kha'Zix. And now they're looking to squash down the Thresh as well. Hook comes out, but there's no place for Wadid to go. Misfits will clean it up. 14 kills to 2. Only 22 minutes in. And the Baron is their next play.
And now with the jungler dead, there will be no fight around the Baron. Misfits can secure themselves a clean objective. And again, it just comes back to the vision control they had.
I'm calling the steal, it's just in case it happens. It didn't
Okay.
happen. I wanted to call it, because if it had happened, I would have sounded like a prophet.
Maybe you would have.
It didn't happen. I'm
It
sorry
didn't
for
happen.
interrupting you, Ben.
So instead,
Maxwell's so used to having things stolen from him, I had to go for it, just in case it did.
he had 2 steals. Everybody's lost steals. Everyone's lost.
2 in a row, though.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually think Trashy has a worse record. Besides the point, good engage coming out from Misfits. Note that they didn't engage initially with the Shen. They actually wait for the Galio to ulti first. Then the Shen ult comes in. And look at the positioning of Hjarnan. Not great. He wanted to try and get to the Lantern, but he also just walked into Power of Evil chains. Varus ultimate, and it made it super easy for them to get the kill. Now, bear in mind that you have 2 tanks on the ground who can soak this up for a while. We don't have time for that, because Alfaro is getting collapsed on.
Yeah, Alfaro is not in the best of spots here. ROCCAT are going to collapse on him with 4 members. The rest of ROCCAT, though, are still in mid, pushing in. Hook lands onto Alfaro. There's no place for the Shen to go. He does get the Spirit's Refuge down. He's just delaying for as long as possible, and he does delay for a long, long time. Faxi has TP, but he's just going to have to base because there's nothing to teleport to, and Misfits will get an inhibitor in the mid lane.
I think that's a fine trade for Misfits. Sure, they lose Shen, and maybe they'll try and force a fight now.
Onto Hans Sama, the Devourer comes down. Ignar's just going to take him away. And it's the reason the Tahm Kench is so strong is the ability to get Hans Sama out of that sort of situation.
Yep. Completely agree with you. Now Faxi doesn't land
Double taunt, doesn't land onto Hans Sama. They are going to go instead for Ignar, but no hook. The Chain of Corruption's coming down. PoE against Betsy up towards the side. 2 chains, 3 chains. How many more chains do you need, man? PoE is going to jump into the fight as Hans Sama goes unstoppable. Wadid dies. It's a double. Another kill for PoE. Abyssal Voyage coming down. Ignar wants Pride Stalker. They want to clean this up now. They want to finish the game. They can't quite get the ace, but they are going to jump onto Betsy. Stand United comes in. Let's bounce back. Maxwell with the kill. Vlad falls once again, and Misfits are only 2 Nexus towers away from taking the win.
They have a minion wave coming up through the middle lane. They have 5 members alive, and with only Pride Stalker to stop them, I don't think ROCCAT can stop it.
ROCCAT looking down the barrel of a reverse sweep once again. It happened against G2, and Misfits are going to do it once again. They're going to take the Nexus, they're going to take the series, and they're going to take the win against ROCCAT.
Misfits with a very clean game 3. 6-0-6 scoreline for Hans Sama. Misfits, they definitely looked rough in game 1. A big underperformance of both Hans Sama and Ignar, but I felt like as the series progressed, they really did redeem themselves. But to me, the standout performer was that of Power of Evil. This guy, 14-2-7 on Cassiopeia, 7-2-4 on LeBlanc. He was a big part as to why Misfits looked so dominant over ROCCAT in games 2 and 3. And to me, it felt like we saw a little bit more of what made Misfits so strong in the past. Their strong ability to move around the map, the way in which they set up around objectives. It's not perfect, but it seems to be coming together.
It's a work in progress. It's always going to be when you have a sub in the middle of a split break, in the middle of the 2 splits. Misfits, of course, still have that 1-year plan that they are trying to enact, and it looks like they are working towards it. ROCCAT, on the other hand, once again, go 1 game up and then lose the following 2 in a best of 3. They just don't seem to have the adaptability over a best of 3 series to close out the 2 wins.
Yeah, I have big question marks surrounding Kianan's AD carry champion pool. The fact that you would go for a Jinx in this situation, very big risk. It did not quite work out for them. And I think they just need to reevaluate. They need to try and figure out what other options are there. Like, I can understand, like, Sivir might not be the strongest AD carry right now, but I feel like in this kind of a composition too, it maybe would have worked out better. Good push, spell shield, a lot of options, and it's something that he's had a lot of success on in the past. So I think that I want to see more. Not only do I want to see just the bottom lane doing well, but I also want to see, like, Faxi being put back on a carry. You were right. Like, why not put the Galio in mids and then maybe give a carry to Faxi, right? Like, why not just... I know we saw the Fiora and the Kled ban, but why not put him on the Java? Why not give him something that he can have an act on? Because he became known for the Faxi Taxi, right? Like, he was bringing out champions like Fizz, and he's even getting the respect ban of the Gnar. This guy does understand how to play those top lane kind of carries, but we're really yet to see him enact them.
I'm wondering about Pride Stalker as well. Do you put him on a utility jungler? Because it forces him not to just farm up the entire time. Because if you have someone like a Gragas early game, you have to be ganking, you have to be doing things. And if you get the kills, you can be more tanky. Whereas with Kha'Zix, he got an early kill there, and then we didn't see him for 15 minutes or so. He wasn't able to counter jungle. He got spotted out a few times, perhaps not respecting where deep vision may be. It's something we saw in the Challenger series from him, and we need him to be able to step up to an LCS level of jungler.
Yeah, Pride Stalker is still growing. He's still getting used to the LCS setting. But for Misfits, they can be very happy overall with their second 2 games of the series.
Yeah, Misfits Gaming got an important win over their rivals in Group A. Let's go over to Dracos with a word from their top laner.
Thank you very much, Medic. Very exciting series, I have to say. Very close as well, it felt like. After that game one, however, Misfits seemed to take it full steam. So my big question for you, how did you feel about your performance that series and the performance of the team overall?
Well, I think game 2 and 3, we played pretty well. We didn't do many big mistakes early game, and the games were pretty fast. And game 1, I mean, this game was pretty unlucky. We made some pretty big mistakes early game, like fighting around mid when they have Galio ulti, and 2v2 dying bot lane, level 1. So game 1 was just, we made the mistakes early game, and then we weren't very confident, picking fights later in the game because we were so far behind. But I'm happy with our game 2 and 3.
Is it fair to say that the Rakan was a pretty big factor there? The casters sort of talked about it, and we've seen ROCCAT be really successful with this pick. How big of a factor do you feel like that Rakan pick was in your loss in game 1?
I think Wadid is really comfortable on this champion. I always see him spamming solo queue with it, but I don't think the pick in itself is really OP. I think we just messed up early game, and then we weren't confident enough to try and come back.
Definitely makes sense. Definitely rough to come back, especially against a champion with that much engage. But looking at the top side of the map, it doesn't feel like a stale meta, but it feels like we haven't seen a ton of things. We've seen Jarvan coming in as a new pick, but a lot of Shen, a lot of Galio. What are your thoughts on the top lane meta right now?
Top lane meta is actually really fun at the moment. I don't feel like there's any really OP champion. Possibly Rumble a little bit because he's just I just like him, but I think you can pick basically anything, and everything has picks that are good into it. So top lane meta at the moment is really fun, yeah.
In the past, it's been very tanks or carries. Do you feel like there's a lot more diversity in the meta right now? Can you pick kind of anything to fit into composition, or does it still feel very much about playing a tank on the top side of the map?
Definitely. I think it's a lot to do with obviously preference for team comp or for the individual player. You can pick tanks like Shen, Galio, Gragas even, or you can pick carries like Fiora, Rumble, and you can have lots of success. And there's even bruisers like Jarvan and Jace or Ken and stuff like this. So there's a lot of picks that all work.
Very interesting to see how it's developed too with the patch changes. Now looking ahead at our next match, we of course have NIP versus G2 playing next. Now you guys played against NIP earlier. Game 1, definitely Misfits. Game 2 was a little rough. So I'm curious, now that you've gone up against NIP, you've had some intense games against them. What do you think their shot is against G2? What does that series look like to you?
I mean, I think NIP, I think the only hope for playing first G2 is to get a big lead early game. Say Shook gets an Elise, or a high pressure jungler maybe Lee Sin as well, and can maybe snowball Nagne so we can help the side lanes. I think that's their biggest hope. But even then, I feel G2 will just outplay them at mid and late game. I feel NIP won't really know how to close the game. So I feel G2 should win 2-0.
All right, definitely predicting hard in favor of G2. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and congrats again on your win today. Well, that's going to do it for us. We're going to toss to a quick break, but when we get back, NIP versus G2. Alfari's predicted the 2-0 for G2. Let us know what you think at LL Esports. We'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
Looking down the barrel of a gun, history may repeat itself. They were reverse swept last week. Will it happen again? Misfits versus ROCCAT. Maxwell's off towards the top side. Betsy actually looking to go in as Pricetalker's nearby. Maxwell jumps forward. There's the stretch and strike. Pulls him back. Betsy pulled a long way back. He's going to be the first blood. Pricetalker needs to be careful. They spot him in. There's the chains. PoE's going to jump in. Double distort. Let's bounce back. Pricetalker's dead. PoE fighting off towards the bottom side. Will be able to get the kill onto Pricetalker. Just needs a little bit more damage. Pricetalker cannot turn it around. PoE against Betsy off towards the side. 2 chains, 3 chains. How many more chains do you need, man? PoE is going to jump into the fight as Hand Summer goes unstoppable. Radid dies. It's a double. Another kill for PoE. Looking down the barrel of a reverse sweep once again. It happened against G2, and Misfits are going to do it once again. They're going to take the Nexus. They're going to take the series, and they're going to take the win against ROCCAT.